one of the claims that this budget makes is it saves about what, $3 trillion over the 10-year budget window. Yeah. We all know that every president, Republican or Democrat, includes budget gimmicks to make their budget appear more fiscally responsible than it really is, whether it's using puffed up assumptions about economic growth, whether it's keeping certain spending categories artificially low, or whether it's literally just shifting money around, underneath where nobody can see anything. So I would ask you, I think I know the answer to the first question. Are there gimmicks in this budget? Yes. But what might they be? And are they more or less egregious than what you've seen in the past?
I think on a policy level, they're necessarily more egregious because, Tori, you and I have seen some really egregious gimmicks over the past couple decades. I think the difference here is the size of the policies, the amount of money that's covered up. Keep in mind, as you said, the budget claims to show about $3 trillion in deficit reduction, but they take out the cost of extending the Trump tax cuts for those earning under $400,000. President Biden has repeatedly endorsed extending the tax cuts for families under $400,000. He has said there will be no higher taxes for such families. That's a cost that as high as $2.4 trillion, depending on who you ask. They just leave it out. Additionally, on discretion, or actually, we'll stick to tax policy. He also does a 1-year extension of the child credit back at the 2021 levels when it was up to $3,600 per family, but only 1 year. We all know how this goes. When Congress does 1 year, of course they're going to extend it. That cuts out about $800 or $900 billion in costs. And then on the discretionary spending side, something virtually all presidents do is assume huge discretionary spending cuts way out in the future after they leave office. This budget assumes discretionary spending falls below 5% of GDP for the first time since the 1930s. That's $3 trillion. So that's, if you account the tax cuts, the child credit, and discretionary spending, that's about $6.5 trillion in gimmicks. And we haven't even gotten to the rosy economic assumptions compared to the Congressional Budget Office. But if you include this $6.5 trillion, that's $3 trillion in deficit reduction suddenly becomes a deficit hike. And that's why I wouldn't focus as much on the aggregate total of spending and revenue and deficits 10 years from now, because essentially the numbers are fake.